Hey guys and girls, Bored now back with you, and this is day 3 of my October horror marathon, where I'm watching as many horror movies this month as humanly possible. Well, maybe not humanly possible, that's over the top, but I'm certainly aiming for 31 days, 31 episodes, 31 movie reviews, let's say. I'll probably see more than 31 horror movies during the month, or at least I hope so. Anyway, I'm rambling already, and it's less than a minute into the episode. So I've done a couple of classics. The first couple of episodes I did the original 1933 Invisible Man with Claude Rains in the first episode, and then last time out I made a start on the Halloween franchise with the John Carpenter original from the late 70s. So a change of pace, a change of direction, this time with a more modern film, and it's called He's Out There. So this came out in 2018. It was sort of a festival type film. It premiered at Fright Fest last year, and I remember catching up with it like a couple of months or something after Fright Fest, and I rewatched it recently, obviously for this, so I've seen it a couple of times now. It's directed by Quinn Lasher, funny American name. I don't really know anything about him or his work apart from this film. And it stars quite a familiar face, Yvonne Strahovski. I'm going to go with that. I've probably got that a bit wrong, the enunciation, but she's in The Handmaid's Tale, basically. She was also in Chuck before that, but she played Serena Joy in The Handmaid's Tale, so quite a few people should know her from that recently. And she's the lead in this, and she does play quite a different part in this, it has to be said. So I think, without giving too much away about how I feel about the film, she certainly shows what a diverse actress she is. Really gives a strong performance in this, and it's one of those films really where a big part of its success is down to how good the lead is. She emotionally has to carry a lot of the film. So I'll give you the setup, and it's quite a familiar setup with one or two sort of twists. So she plays a mother of twin girls, and they're planning like a getaway to it's a yearly thing. They go to this cottage sort of out in the woods, the woodlands. And it's a regular family trip, so she's with her partner, but you get the sense early on then it's sort of their relationship is sort of breaking down. There's not a lot of chemistry, there's not a lot of love there. You get the impression it's a strained relationship. And so it's a yearly thing. As I said, they come here they go to the same location once a year. And it's that old thing, he's gonna go, but he says he has to work sort of thing, so he'll follow them on. And that obviously becomes sort of a plot device for the horror we see later on. So they go on ahead, and he's contacting them throughout the film, back and forth, and eventually he starts driving down, but then obviously it's a horror movie, so no surprise something happens to him. But basically, Carrie, her name, is the lead character. Her and the girls, weird things start happening out in the woods, in this cabin. Weird things start happening to the girls. Things start showing up in the cabin, the house, whatever you want to call it, and just bizarre things start happening, and suddenly they are put at threat. There's this guy who they meet, this guy called Owen, and he's one of these typical sort of characters you see in horror movies like this, where he's sort of set up as a red herring because you know there's going to be some sort of threat with it being a horror movie. So he comes up to the car and he's like he's helping them in some way. I can't remember what, but he's sort of being nice and being friendly because he lives locally. And he's one of those kind of typical characters where you think he's being sort of too maybe friendly, and you sort of wonder at the time, or at least I did, is there going to be some sort of flirtation with Carrie because she's obviously has this tension with the husband and he's not around, so is there going to be something there? And there never is, but basically he's set up as one of these red herring sort of characters where is he acting a bit too nice, a bit too friendly, and is he going to be... Because, I mean, once you get into the nuts and bolts of it, there sort of is an element of... I mean, which they don't actually play up. I mean, it ends up being a lot more conventional than that, but there is an element, and the killer, the one who's attacking their home or the cabin and trying to get in and attack them, there's an element, and he kind of is drawn towards the idea of the family unit, and particularly seeing Carrie as a sort of a wife or maybe a mother figure or something like that. I think they at least hint at that. But anyway, things start happening. It's almost like a game at times, and slowly he gets closer to the cabin, and that's the threat. So it becomes sort of an invasion type movie in that way, and a very quite traditional horror premise, but there's this other stuff going on where they find these objects. The girls are like reading a book, like a sort of a fairy tale type book, and yeah, it turns out there's stuff happening, and so I like this film. I think it's, first of all, as I said, Yvonne Strahovski, however you say her name, is I think she's very good. I think she carries it very well. I think I think you really sympathise with her character from the start. She feels like a well-rounded, like realistic character. I think she's very strong and feisty. And I think as we get further into the plot where she has to protect, obviously, the two girls, I think she becomes more physical, she becomes tougher. And it's almost like, without, obviously, it never gets to this sort of level, but I mean, it is that sort of very tougher, sensitive but also masculine type leading lady type character like we saw in some 80s film like Alien or Aliens. But yeah, she's very convincing in the role. She really obviously carries the emotional side of the film, and there's some really physical scenes between her and the attacker, and in the end, it is her who, she ends up fighting back, and it's a really physical sort of end of the film. There's some really gory moments, but she's very good. She carries it well, and I think, again, shows the diverse side. And the two girls, actually, I thought were good. I mean, they got a bit annoying at times with some of the screaming and stuff. They could have toned that down a bit, but anyway, they felt like realistic children, and they're twins in real life, which you can see they do look pretty much identical, but they were good. And there's this whole sort of mythology to the backstory where basically the whole idea is that the attacker, the cabin they're staying in, which they obviously rent out once a year, that's like his family home, or it had been in the past, and obviously his family has passed on, but it's sort of saying that he's been there for years now. It's his home, but obviously when Carrie and her family come, he leaves, but he's there watching them. So basically, it's this idea that he wants to take his home back, and I mean, I'm not sure quite why he decides to do it now, but that's the idea. And there's this quite cool concept where they find, as I said, they're reading this book, and this like nursery rhyme book, and at one point he writes in it, sort of thing. He does a little drawing, sort of thing, and obviously Carrie, at first not knowing what's going on, sort of thinks, well, that's one of the girls. And then there's a whole thing early on where the girls go out in the woods and one of them eats something and it ends up affecting her. And this is where some of the best horror moments are, where you get like these sort of cupcakes, and the idea is that he's set up like a picnic sort of thing, but there's something poisonous or something potentially dangerous in the cupcake, which the girl has, like, it affects her and she sort of is sick and almost passes out. And those moments are really effective because they feel really yucky, the way they're shot, and the sound of like when she's like throwing up, sort of thing. So really nicely shot, those seem really sort of effective. They really sort of get to your senses, sort of thing. And it's a very sort of fleshy film in that way. It's really down and dirty when it needs to be. It really has a sort of an energy and a mood to it, like in the scenes where Carrie is fighting back and forth with this intruder, this sort of unknown man. He's in a hood a lot of the film. He's got a really good presence, actually, and I think the actor does a good job with him. Because obviously there's sort of, I mean, obviously he's, as well as being, this dangerous psychopath, he's a tragic figure as well. So, but yeah, the idea is that the book which he's given the girls, he's predicting the future, or he's writing the book, sort of thing. So the stuff he's putting in the book and the story in the book is stuff he intends to reenact, stuff he plans to do with them, sort of thing. So later on, because at one point towards the end of the film, the wife the mother, Carrie, has been badly injured and she's been knocked out, and she's sort of put in the boot of the car, and it's the next morning, and and then the girls have been like drugged or something and they're unconscious, and he's sort of setting up like a picnic sort of thing. And so it's, kind of, you get the impression this is stuff he did in the past and now he's setting them up to reenact these types of things. And he obviously in the long term plans on killing them, sort of thing. But it's a whole thing, and it's really well thought out. It's not that original. There's certainly, it reminded me a bit of the idea in the Babadook, for example, and that was a much better film. But Babadook is a pretty exceptional film. I think that stands out as one of the better horrors of recent years. But so this isn't on that level, but I think it's good. I think it's a good, tight little film. It's nicely shot. I think they use like the sort of woodland setting very well. There's some, early on in the film, there's a nice aerial sort of shot. And as I said, certainly the lead, Yvonne Strahovski, I think I got it right that time. She really carries it very well. The husband's a very generic sort of character. He's it feels he's just there to move the plot on, and that side of it is more sort of cliched, and no surprise he ends up being killed, when he's on his way to the thing, because you need stakes, and also the guy Owen gets killed from earlier. Some nice kills. So overall, I think it's a really effective horror with a couple of nice sort of twists to it, and a decent sort of kill of villain, some decent kills, and I think, I think because of the lead performance, you do care, you are invested, or at least I was. I mean, I probably wasn't as taken by it second time around. I'm not really sure why. I think it stood out and appealed to me a bit more on the first viewing, but I did enjoy it, and it's a good sort of meaty watch and pretty tense overall. So I'd recommend checking it out if you haven't. I mean, I've got a DVD copy, but there's the cover. If you want to check that out, and there you have it. Okay. But anyway, it's on Netflix in the UK if people in the UK want to check it out, and I'm sure you can find it online in other places. It's worth checking out. It's a good movie overall, I'd say. So rating wise, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's effective in what it's doing, and as I said, the lead performance really, she invests you in it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's worth checking out, I think. Really strong film. So that's He's Out There, which is my third horror review of the month, and I will be back soon with a fourth one, so sometime tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.